Let me first say it is such an honor to be here with CityRise. Mark, Roger, the team, just everybody. I have a long relationship with this church, and to be able to be here, Aaron, in this capacity today is such an honor. So thank you for carving this day out. I see so many of you in this room. We are also friends, and we have been on this journey together for so long. And it's great to see your faces this morning. It's great to see your attentive faces. It's great to see faces that are about to lean into truth today. I don't know about you, but trauma sucks. Trauma sucks. My mom would not like me using that word. Something happens in trauma. Time seems to slow down, and the important things of my life seem to come into clear focus. My kids, my wife, my calling, my family. Just in this week, all over the country, these things, traumatic. I remember 9/11, traumatic. What I'm hoping today, and I'm praying for myself, is that even in the midst of trauma over these last hours, He would do His work, the Spirit would do His work in me to slow me down and to really reevaluate what's important. My ministry, my family, my church, His Word, the things that I do on a daily basis. And I'm praying the exact same thing for you. I don't know about you, but I'm glad I'm in this building today. I don't know about you, but I'm glad I'm in this building today. I could be at home. I could be on the road around Houston because we love that. I could be busy being busy. But what the Lord in His providence has done is allowed us to be in this room together and to sing songs like that. What the Lord in His providence has done is allow us to step into a moment with boldness and confidence in a quiet, resolute knowledge that He's with us and He's most important. And He wants to reveal Himself to us today. Man, isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? It's so good. It's so good. My name's Stephen Smith, and my wife and I live here in Houston, and we've been a part of Houston's First for the last 30 years. We have 4 kids, 2 at Texas A&M University. One is out of the house, one is in high school. We have a student ministry going on at the Smith House. Star is a worship leader. I am a worship leader. Star and I started a company just a few years ago, so we're in those beginning phases of seeing things grow and sprout. I want to wind up one day as a farmer. I want to be in the fruit-bearing business. I want to be in the fruit-bearing business. In fact, I want to take that one step forward and say, I want to be in the orchard business. In the orchard business. Howard Hendricks, famous quote, he says, I want my fruit to grow on where? Other people's trees. Not only do we want fruit bearing in our ministries and in our church, we want to be able to be in the orchard business. We're looking past the fruit. We're looking past the single tree. And now we've upgraded to an orchard mindset. That's blue ocean. That's new territory for us as believers. That's new territory for us as leaders in our organization. So today, what I'm going to do, I would invite you into this lesson with a sense of anticipation. I would love for you to get your journal, your pen, your phone, anything that you have to write with, and I want us to step together through a few things that I believe are going to not only get us ready for today and these amazing messages that you're going to hear, but also increase the probability of fruit bearing in your job, fruit bearing in your life. So, are we ready? Okay, we're ready. You look ready. We're leaning forward. We're leaning into this. Let me teach you a word. This word is here on the screen. The word is A-R-A-B-L-E. Write that down, if you would. A-R-A-B-L-E. It's pronounced arable, and that's why I gave the phonetic spelling on the back. A-E-R-A-B-L-E. To me, when I read this first in a book, this word was interesting. I obviously didn't know what it meant. I called it arable. Arable. Well, this word is packed with meaning. This word is used to describe a piece of land with potential. This word is used to describe a piece of land that has the capability of growing crops. You can see it here. You say acres of arable land. So when you look out at a pasture with a bunch of rocks, when you look at a pasture with a bunch of trees, when you look at a desert, that's the opposite of arable. But if you look at a piece of land on the slopes, the volcanic slopes in Hawaii, or in the incredible places in Iowa, some places in Texas, obviously, that's arable land. For me, it's packed with meaning, and you can see here, if you were to create a funnel and you load all of these words that we speak, all of these words that we talk a lot about, fertile, healthy, fortified, potential, cultivated's in there a second time, healthy, the word at the bottom is arable. You get one word today that means a ton of different things. You have one word now to show your team when you get back, or to drop at a party or at the dinner table tonight in front of your kids and say, you're not going to believe the word that I learned today and what it means. The Lord gave us this word a couple years ago, and it's changed our life. And today, we are going to be able to talk about what it means to be a leader with an arable heart. What does it mean to really be an arable leader? What does it mean to create arable teams? What does it mean to create arable organizations? Because we are in the orchard business, right? We've already agreed. This is where we want to be. So let's talk just for a moment. When we say that has the potential to grow, there are some elements in the soil that you see. Chemistry says if you are able to have these elements in the soil, the likelihood of growth is better. So you can see these essential or these vital elements. It brings us back to the story of the sower, the seed, and the soil. Good soil in that story sounds a lot like the English word arable that we're talking about this morning. So this morning, as you write, we're going to go through seven vital elements of an arable heart or an arable life or an arable ministry. And I want to show these to you so that you can go ahead and make some space on your paper. Faith, vision, clarity, seasonality, poise, diplomacy, and creativity. Let's say those one more time. Faith, vision, clarity, seasonality, poise, diplomacy, and creativity. We're going to talk about faith first because it really is the root system of the soul. And I'm sure as you see this come on the screen, you're like, of course, we're faith leaders. Of course, it's going to be faith. Let me refine the word just for a little bit so you really hear my heart when we talk about this. Our word choice, when we talk about what we do as a ministry, what we do as an organization, is say we are a faith-forward organization. I've worked for churches, which are faith-based. I've worked for nonprofits, which are faith-based. What we've done is we've said not only faith-based, not only is our foundation based on this, but We want our faith to be out front in the things that we do, in the things that we say, and the way that we live. How do we do this? Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. To lead in faith means that you're not in the driver's seat. To have a faith-forward organization, to be a faith-forward leader means I am not in control. On an elemental level, it is a confession that God, I don't have the resources to solve the problem that I need to solve. And so I'm relying on an outside source of wisdom, power, and knowledge to inform everything that I do. We've got to be careful as leaders in our language to continue to be poor in spirit. Does this mean to be a depressing personality? Does this mean we are Debbie Downer as a poor in spirit? No, poor in spirit means, in a few renderings, it means that I know that I'm not enough and I know that He is. So how does the presence of faith for us as a leader? Now I know we're in faith-based, I know we're in faith-forward, I know we're in church. How does it break down for us in a practical, everyday way? I put some things in here for us to see. What does the presence of faith in a leader look like practically? In meetings, they're choosing that there is a way and there is not our way or the way it's been done. They choose in meetings, there is a way that the Lord wants us to go. We've got to discover what that is. They aren't their own resource. They aren't clamoring to be the smartest one in the room. Hello. They call on the record of God's faithfulness. They cultivate spiritual disciplines privately. You know what faith-forward leaders look like. When there is an issue that comes up, they pause. And there's a natural beat before they begin to speak. And there's a natural reliance on the Lord to come through in a quiet confidence that they know that the Lord is working behind the scenes in all of what they're seeing. You know what a faith-forward leader looks like. Cultivating faith in our personal lives can change the way we lead as leaders. A couple of things that I feel I'm terrible at this. I just want to confess. I'm terrible at the faith part because I always feel like I've got the answer. I'm a talker, and I'm just, as you're talking, sometimes, Mark, sometimes as you're talking, I'm already thinking of my response. I'm just confessing that to you. And I'm already thinking of like 3 ways we can fix the problem. Rachel, this happens often, right? And at the end of the thing, I'm like, well, we got 3 options. Here's boom, boom, boom. I don't take the pause. I need to take the pause. So I'm preaching to myself. I'm filled with a room of amazingly faithful leaders here. So I got it. Okay, so we'll go to the next. The next word that we talk about as a vital element of an arable leader is the presence of faith, of vision. A vision. Vision, if you've not got a definition here, as I touch the screen, vision is seeing a desired future outcome and then discerning the path toward that outcome or seeing beyond what is. If faith is something that we see in our, if faith is a posture of seeing the Lord as bigger, seeing the Lord as further, vision is being able to see His way and His will come to life. Vision for faith-forward leaders and for us in where we are, in the space we are, vision comes from this, I want to say. Primarily, vision comes from the stories, the accounts, and the way that we live in God's Word. What we see is His vision played out over and over. The pages of this book can inform your vision, and it can tell you how He's worked in the past, so you can be confident about how He's going to work in the future. So we've got that. But I want to press a little bit more into this idea of vision, of where we want, when you ask yourself, where are we headed, or where we want to go, or I've got a dream, or I've got a place. Faith and vision are interlinked. Faith is this confession. Vision has to do with slowing down, in my opinion. So every science fiction writer, because I'm a nerd like that, always has to have a workaround when you're talking about space travel. Okay, and if you're with me, you're with me. But if you're not, I'm going to be back to the good stuff in just a second. But in order to get places in space, they're not going to do it in real time. How unexciting would it be in Star Wars or Star Trek or any of these for them not to be able to move through space fast? What they've invented is warp drive. What they've invented is hyperspace. So what they do is they put the spaceship in go mode, and you know what happens. Everything begins to streak. The stars begin to streak. And as they're traveling through space, all it is around the entire ship is a blur. The outside world is a blur. When they stop, you come back to like what normal is, and they've already gone, light years across the galaxy. Okay, men and women, I live my life in warp speed. I live my life often at warp speed. Vision is about being able to recognize that you're living in a blur around you. Vision is about recognizing, God, I need to stop the blur of the to-do list, of the task list, of the programming. I've got to stop the blur long enough to be able to, and this is the important part, see what you want me to do. Vision is about seeing what the Lord actually wants me to do, stepping out of the blur of the day-to-day, getting alone with Him, the one who has the answers, and saying, God, I need you desperately to show me through your word, show me through prayer what you would have me do in this particular situation. The biggest killer of vision is just being busy. It's going too fast. Isn't that good stuff? Isn't that good? So if you are foggy, or if you are blurred, or if you are distracted, or if you're exhausted, is the grind of doing good keeping you from doing something great? What if we're so busy in the good? Pretty amazing. Lastly, don't let the lack of vision be a cause of crisis. Because you're going too fast and you miss something. And you're going too fast and you missed a turn, you're going too fast and you weren't aware of something boiling in the background. Our prayer is, God, give us vision. It is vital to the arable leader. Watch over your faith journey with the utmost care to have vision. And have a vision for your ministry from the macro down to micro. Get alone in the next month. Get alone in the next couple of weeks to say, God, I know you've got the answers. Bring me into what you want me to do. That's how we slow down enough to be able to see who we need to be and what our ministry is. Two little ouch points, just a vision here. When we are working in vision and we don't slow down, control rises. Control rises. It has the opportunity. If you're visionless, and if we don't know where we're headed, we seek to control the things that are around us. So vision without faith can become a power play. In other words, vision to say, I didn't slow down enough to get the Lord's answers of the problem, so I'm going to make the ones up that I think would be best based on my experience or based on my feelings. This is tough territory. Unique ability to communicate that prompts act. So we get to the third. The third word in our vital mix of elements is clarity. Faith, vision, clarity. If you don't get anything that we talked about today, even the word arable, you've already forgotten. We talked about it a second ago. If you don't get anything, the faith and the vision and the clarity, these three words are central to movement as a leader, because we're saying, God, you have all the answers. Vision, God, help me to see. Clarity is being able to communicate what God has told you and to your team where we are headed. So it's the unique ability, we'll put this in, I put it up too early, unique ability to communicate our vision that prompts action. What is clarity for us? It's our unique ability to communicate our vision to launch action. So we've got the faith, we've got the vision, and then we've got the clarity. Clarity for us, the opposite of clarity, would be confusion. Many times as a leaders, myself included, you've got a thing you want to do. You've got a vision you feel like is out there, and you are, the words aren't there yet. The words to articulate it aren't there yet. Or sometimes when we do have a vision, when we do have a place that we are going, we communicate with too many words. We give too many instruction. We don't give enough instruction. We don't land on a sentence or a summary of where we are headed as a leader. And when it hits your team, it's completely confusing. As leaders, we've got to cultivate a sense of really taking the time to lock in the descriptors around what the Lord has told us and what we're seeing, feeling, understanding. Sometimes it's going to come down to a program initiative being an incredibly formed paragraph. At CityRise, we do this interesting thing. At First Baptist, we do this interesting thing where as we plan for Sunday, there is the pastors come off of the mountain and he has the tablets in his hand and he has the message ready to go. We have worked with our pastors there to develop a sermon in a sentence. A sermon in a sentence. It's really a vision statement for the message here. The sermon in a sentence for me today with you and arable is cultivate an arable heart so that you can bear much fruit. That's the sermon in a sentence. How much more as a leader, you've got to be able to cultivate, not the sermon in a sentence, it might be if you're in a church leader, but what's the vision in the sentence? What do we want to accomplish? Where we want to go? Clarity has, listen to this, a cascading effect. If you're clear at the beginning, if you're clear at the headwaters of the vision, it's going to cascade down to your teams in an amazing, amazing way. You can look at this. Clarity also provides comfort. It provides comfort to your teams if all your teams are getting is chaos. If you're operating in constant chaos, you might need to take a clarity break and say, hey, let's condense this down. Use ChatGPT if you need to. Get it down into a workable phrase, a workable word picture that then you're able to say, okay, these words bring us comfort and express where the Lord wants us to go. If you want to get really cool and arable, you're going to flip it upside down. You're going to flip your org chart upside down too. Now, I don't want to go as an aside here, but org charts seem to be top down. In an arable mindset, org charts really are flipped upside down. Everybody knows, like if you're the leader of an organization, you know that it's a dark, dirty, cold place at times. And you're alone down there. But great things come out of that soil. So in the org charts that we talk about, okay, we put this here, and then it grows into this beautiful thing. So clarity in the roots is going to yield clarity in the what? The fruits, exactly. So take time to be clear. Again, like we talked about with faith, take that pause in order to slow down, in order to let your team be clear. The scripture that we often associate this with this is, for if the trumpet makes an uncertain sound, who will prepare for battle? Who will prepare for battle? You can't initiate big things. You can't start the battle. You don't know where the starting line is if the trumpet is playing something different. Faith, vision, and clarity. Okay, so we got that. And you probably are at a spot where like, Stephen, okay, I came all the way to CityRise today for this, to hear faith, vision, clarity. This is what I preach. This is what I teach all the time. Hopefully, you've seen faith, vision, clarity work in a new sequence, or maybe you've seen the words rendered a little bit differently than what you're used to. The word seasonality gets us into some new territory. When we deal with seasonality, poise, diplomacy, that's going to take a little bit more digging. So let me tell you what I am thinking about when we say seasonality. As an arable leader, we are to cultivate God's perspective on where we are as humans and our organization. Cultivating seasonality in your life allows you to rise above your mission, your blockers, your opposition, and allows you to say, maybe we're just in winter, but spring is coming. Seasonality in the leader allows you to rise above your organization and say, we might need to rest a little bit in fall because we've been in harvest, we've been working out in the fields, collecting this for too long. Seasonality promotes a healthy heart. Seasonality promotes stability no matter the circumstance. We're going to embrace divine perspective in growth and in change and in planning. Be relieved a little bit this morning. Say, there's another season that's just about to come. It might not be as bad as you think it is. It might not be as good as you think it is. But from God's perspective, He's got things moving in a different way. Is that a blessing? So we're able to have some perspective and step back and say, God, I get that it might be just this time of the year. Februarys are tough for me. Februarys are tough for me as a creative. They're tough for me as a leader. George Washington, don't chop down a tree in winter. There's nothing on the tree. It's in the way, and you forget it. It's over. Chopping down a tree in winter means you can't see the result, so I'm going to chop it down, and I'm going to move on to something else. Just because there aren't leaves on the tree doesn't mean there's no life inside of it. So, and I'll take this down personally. You might be in a season with a person that's on your team, and you might think, it's over. They're dead. It just might be winter. But with prayer, with care, with counseling, with training, instruction, springtime might be around the corner for them. Using God's perspective on that. Speaking of perspective, the oldest tree in the world is found in, where do you think? I'm sorry? Egypt? Anybody? Oldest tree in the world. Turkey? Israel? We think that's old over there? I'm sorry? California. California? What? Let me show you. The Methuselah tree. I'll just read this. The oldest known individual tree in the world is in the Great Basin, bristlecone pine. I've never heard of that. It's called the Methuselah. It's estimated to be around 4,856 years old and is located in the White Mountains of California. When Jesus was born, this tree was over 2,000 years old. That's perspective. That's perspective. I crossed the 50-year mark last week. That's perspective. Here's what it does. Here's what gray hair and 50 summers does. It allows you to take life a little less seriously. Isn't that good? When I was 18 and it was winter or it was summertime, man, that was just like endless summer. That was it. But after seeing 50 summers, I know this goes around in cycles, and I know pain doesn't last forever. Joy comes in the morning. Man, that's good. Seasonality as an arable leader. The fifth word, and we're almost done. The fifth word that we want to plant, the fifth word that we want to be present when we talk about soil of our heart, soil of our soul, is the element of poise. Poise is a word that you usually hear when talking about football. So this is Roger's favorite word of all of these things. When you talk about a quarterback and he is in the pocket, you say Tom Brady had poise in the pocket. It means no matter what the defense was throwing at them, no matter what the offensive play was, there was poise in the pocket, and he was able to see what he needed to do what he needed to do, no matter if it's bad or no matter if it's good. He had a sense of self-control. He had poise. This is a great, amazing, awesome word. Like seasonality, it talks about having a God-sized perspective. But I want you to see seasonality being a God's perspective in planning, in seasons for your organization. With poise, I want you to see God's perspective on your mind. In Colossians 3:2, we set our mind above in God's perspective so that the trauma of yesterday, the trauma of this week, we are able to face with a heart of confidence. The success of last week, the success of this summer, we're able to face with a God-sized confidence. We have a poise that is in our hearts that no matter good or bad, we were able to have this confidence. Now, I know where your mind is going. Your mind is going to stoicism. I can see it on your face. All right? Your mind, you're like, wait, should we be, again, I'm sorry about the sci-fi reference again. Should we be Vulcans in this whole thing? Roger, this is just coming to me. I think it's the Holy Spirit. But probably not. Should we be Vulcans? Should we be like Ryan Holiday? Listen, should we be like Ryan Holiday and say, we're going to study all the Stoics and get all of our philosophy, and we're not going to be affected by all of this, and we're going to let Stoicism lead the way? No. What we have is a quiet confidence in the Lord. Stoicism says, and I know this is an aside, Stoicism says you get to the end of all of your philosophies and you are skeptical about everything, and you arrive at this amazingly anointed place, they say, this inner spot that's empty, this empty self at the end of it, and you're able to operate out into self. I'm a believer in Jesus, so when I enter into that space, the Lord meets me there. Man, if they could just allow the Lord to meet them there in that space, they're a breath away, they're a hair's breadth away from the Lord. The opposite of poise, as we can assume, would be reactive. Are you a reactive person? James reminds us to consider it joy during trials. The Proverbs remind us to not eat the fruit of self-indulgence in times of success. Poise is the product of having been in God's presence. Isn't that awesome? Blockers to poise, being reactive, or hurry, emotional volatility. Here's a very interesting one. If you're a high empathy person, over-identifying with your clients, over-identifying with the person that comes through the door can be a danger. So you've got to check your empathy level and stay separate. And I'm not saying like in a mean way. I'm saying be careful not to over-identify with the trauma that's approaching you on a daily basis and stay rooted and planted in what the Lord has. So being reactive is also also a speed thing. So it's the presence the lack of being in God's presence. So that's good. So we've understand the seasonality is poise. Seasonality is kind of on the programming side or planning. It's when to plant. And then poise would be like how I react when things are good and when things aren't bad. Self-control comes to mind as something that we could also say in that. Okay, diplomacy. Faith, vision, clarity, seasonality, poise, diplomacy. Diplomacy is a word that we don't usually talk about when we talk about leadership unless you're in government. Diplomacy is the art of dealing with people in a sensitive and effective way. Diplomats' whole job is to approach the other party and to attempt to see through their eyes in order to settle on preferred outcomes for both parties. I want to show you what the word diplo is made of, and you can see the screen behind me. Diplo versus auto. Diplo means two, auto means one. When we come into a conversation with the people that are on our team or the people that we are in contact with, do we have an auto mindset? Are we thinking about our wins, our needs, our agendas, or do we diplomatically think about two people in the conversation? Are most of your conversations with staffers on opposite sides of a table? Are most of your talks with your kids on opposite sides of a table? My challenge is to physically move to the other side of the table. And don't let anything separate you from a good conversation, a blessing, from a hard conversation as well. Diplo, meaning two, means a ton. The opposite is direct. The opposite is direct. So there's a scale. Diplomacy on this end, directness on this end. What happens when I'm direct? I'm able to win in a couple of areas when I'm direct because I can be efficient when I'm direct. My kid's doing something wrong, stop. I solved the problem. Look at me. Speed, I can get there fast. I can solve the problem fast. I can bring my ideas to the table fast. I can trump the other person's ideas because I've been in it longer, because I've seen something else, because I just read this blog this morning. You know, I'm in that mode. Or worst case scenario, I'm controlling the situation to the nth degree. We want to be people who steer away from direct, because it's so easy. Direct is easy, and it's efficient. And diplomacy takes time. Counting on two people, it doesn't work on my calendar. It doesn't work for me. Or the train is coming down the tunnel, I need to be direct in this moment. What the Lord is asking, I feel in our study and in our lives, is to swing from the control mindset over to a diplomatic mindset. Invite the Lord in and invite the other people in to that, because diplomacy really then equals care. Care and not coercion. Diplomacy means care and not coercion. Do you feel as though you're having to preach to people or coerce people to do something? I promise you, caring is a better way forward. Finally, our last word is creativity. This is one of the most misunderstood of the entire 7. This particular word, usually at this point in the talk, people who are one-sided in their brain, people who I would say love spreadsheets and algebra, okay? Those people usually tune out at this moment. And you can see it. They kind of glaze over. Yeah, I got it. You know, they glaze over like, well, those other 6 work for me. But this 7, that's for somebody else. There's no way. Because I'm not a creative person. How many times have you said that? Let me just take that phrase that you're not a creative person. Let me just bury it. You don't want to see that phrase again come out of your mouth. because you are a creative person. Wise because you've been created. Wise because the Lord's placed something amazing inside of you. The ability, even if you love spreadsheets and algebra, to assimilate information in a creative way. Hopefully not too creative if you're an accountant. But you are able to assimilate information. That is a superpower. My wife thinks in a straight line. It's amazing. I think in circles. And we drive ourselves crazy. But we rely on the strengths of each other. So when you think about creativity, don't think of Picasso. Don't think of painting. Don't think of digital arts. Don't think of the creative department. It's not a department. Creativity is you. You. So how do we know anything about creativity? So how do we first access it, and then how do we apply it? How do we cultivate creativity? Here's the thing. 1, we study the Creator. That's our first place. We go to the Lord and we say, God, you are so other. You are using your faith-forward mindset. You are so other that I can't even. Now, when I say think about God, I'm thinking about God himself, not the things that he's created. Okay? So think first about studying the Creator and who he is, what he looks like, where he lives, and the enormity of his power. Okay, second, study what the Creator's created. Then we're able to go to the planets and stars and plants. The third, study what the Creator's creation created. Then finally, study yourself. Study yourself. So let's walk through these just for a second. Study the Creator. When we are accessing creativity, we've got to study the enormity of God's ability. I want you to look at the star field behind me. This is an amazing picture of stars in the sky. When you look a little closer, you realize that they are not stars. They are actually galaxies. Each one of these pieces of light represents the entire galaxy that we live in. So it's billions of galaxies. Let's talk about the enormity of God to start with. To be able to hold all this together, are you kidding me? God is enormous. God is the Creator, so we're studying him. Then we study the elegance of his work. Second thing, we study the elegance of his work. Still, we're accessing creativity. We need to know the Lord. We need to know the elegance of his work. Look at the picture behind me. An eyeball. I want you to look at the detail in this particular eyeball. And guess what? You've got 2 of them in your head, most of us. You can see the strands. You can see the thread. You can see the coloration. Look at the elegance of his work. I want you to look at this number for just a second. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. This is an elegant number if you don't know this already. I didn't know that at the beginning. I just looked at it and I was like, well, it's just number. Well, it's actually called the Fibonacci sequence. And those of you who went to Rice were able to solve this. You can see 0 plus 1, 1 to 2 equals 3, 3 to 5 is 8, 8 to 5 is 13, 8 to 30, 21, so on and so forth, and after that. So you're able to see this sequence of numbers then extrapolated out over the whole thing. If you were to chart those numbers on a graph, it creates this spiral. It creates this spiral. 1 equals 2. 2 is 1 equals 3. 3, 2 equals 5. 3, 5 is 8. Look at the way we see this spiral in nature. Look at how we see the beauty and the elegance of what he has done in all things. It's amazing. Now, we also study the evidence of human work. Guess what we think is beautiful? Things with that same number. What we call, except for the Cybertruck. Things that we think are beautiful are based on this sequence of balance. Is there objective beauty in the world, in the things that we create, in nature? The answer, well, I'll let you answer that. Look at this elegant little thing. The evidence of a person's work. These dots represent a copper molecule. So if you were to go in on an electron microscope, down, 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 you're able to see the molecules of copper laying flat, just like this. These other molecules are different in that they have been put together on purpose. This is actually a molecular car, okay? If I can just show you. These gray things are the wheels. This is the chassis, and then the wheels just like this. This was developed just a few blocks away at Rice University by Dr. Jim Tour. He and his nerd buddies get together, and they race molecular cars. When they charge it with energy, these particular molecules respond, and so the cars go across the copper molecule back and forth, and they think that's fun. Amazing, right? Here's where it gets crazy, is they're also making tools, like molecular drills. So a cancer cell, it goes to the outside, it's able to drill through the outside layer of the cancer cell into the inside and destroy that cell. What they're trying to do is create tools to fight cancer. Isn't that amazing? You've got to study the evidence of the work. This is a great quote from Tour, and we'll be done. I build molecules for a living. I can't begin to tell you how difficult that is. You can hear him say it. I stand in awe of God because of what he's done through his creation. My faith has become increased through my research. Only a rookie knows nothing about science would say science takes away from faith. If you really study science, it'll bring you closer to God. Isn't that awesome? So we're able to study also ourselves. If you've not taken a personality test, please do. If you're not using one of these tools that's behind me, please do. I know some of you get fatigued when you see these tools, but I believe studying ourselves and how we are wired in our personality is going to be a benefit to you. Just so with a table group, we were able to, on our team, we were able to test out our staff, and you know that it's a widget, WIDGET. It turns out Star is a T, and I'm over here on a W. So that means that we've got some work to do on getting there. So it's accessing creativity as a leader, and then it's about being able to apply creativity as a leader. And the way that we apply creativity as a leader is that we really seek inspiration from the Lord, as we've talked about with vision, as we've talked about with clarity. And then we think about, when is the last time we've talked about a program being breathed into, inspiration, breathed into, when is the last breathed into vision you felt like this is the thing, the Lord is behind this? That moves then to creativity, because inspiration, once it gets going, that becomes creativity. Create with other people around you. Don't just go into your room by yourself. Bring people into the creative process, because when you bring people into the creative process, then you are able to do something amazing. You're able to sustain creativity in your organization. It means it happens over time. So innovation is sustained creativity. It's inspiration happening, creativity happening, and then over and over in a repeatable process. So just in summary, just in my time, my hope and desire is you would pray, Lord, create the conditions in my spirit, create the conditions in my heart for maximum fruit bearing. And not just fruit bearing that is for tomorrow, with an orchard mindset, fruit that lasts. Fruit that lasts. And you'll see the Lord begin to do things in your organization, in your team, and in you personally. New growth will sprout up. And you'll recognize that the Lord is in it all.